My wife's helping me set the camera up here. I was going to tell y'all today about my deer hunting trip this morning and what happened and why I did what I did and et cetera, et cetera. So it was really cold this morning. It was supposed to get down to 23 last night and it felt pretty cold when I got up, but I slept in a little bit this morning. I slept in till about 7:30 maybe. It was plenty after daylight. The sun was already out by the time I woke up. Went ahead and took a shower, got all my scent control stuff ready. Put my camo, my orange on. Got my 30-30 ready. Just pretty much had everything ready anyway. And I took off up behind the house. And I was slow. I was like a cat. Because when you walk up in the woods at night and before daylight, you can make a little bit more noise than normal. The deer can't see you quite as good. They can still be spooked, but it's not as big of a deal when you get up there early. But when you get up there in the daylight, you really got to walk slow like a cat. So I eased up through there behind the house, up one of the road beds, and made my way up to the ridge. And I was standing up there on a corner, just watching one road bed that's probably 60-80 yards long, and behind me there was a road bed I could probably see 20, 30, 40 yards maybe. And the woods is kind of thick up here behind the house. It's really high stem count, so it's hard to get a very long shot anywhere you're at. But I found me a decent little spot and got standing behind a tree. I started hitting my grunt call. And I checked my wind, and my wind was... Really, there wasn't no wind this morning. It was really light wind, but it was kind of coming this way to the right of me from where I was looking. Well, I might have been standing up there maybe... This had to be like 8:30. Maybe somewhere before 9, maybe after 8:30. I was sitting there, hit my grunt call. I only hit it maybe once every 15, 20 minutes or something. Well, I figure if a deer's within 100 yards and hears you and he's interested, he'll come looking. And they move around on those really cold mornings, so one could move in close enough to hear your grunt call about every 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll hit my grunt about every 15 to 20 minutes. Well, I was standing there being real still, hitting my grunt call, and here come this deer. I could see some horns coming through the woods. And I don't care who you are, how many deer you shot. If you're standing in the woods and you grunt up a deer, you get buck fever. You start shaking. So I pulled my gun up, and there was a big tree right here, and there was a little tree right here. And I set my gun up, and I set it against that little tree so I could get steady. And I was aiming at that deer. And I pulled my head up like this and looked and seen its horns, and it wasn't real big, but I still went and shot it. I couldn't really tell whether I want to shoot it yet or not. So I pulled down on its chest and got on it and was looking, and then I pulled back up on its horns with my scope, and I saw that its horns, it was a 6-pointer, but its horns wasn't really spectacular. There wasn't nothing good about it. It wasn't really huge. And I've still got some doe meat in the fridge that I got to freeze tonight that I'm not finished with I killed a doe a while back. This past about 4 days ago. So I didn't really want to shoot one this morning, but I was up there, and it's the first buck I've grunted up all season. So it was all I could do not to squeeze the trigger. I mean, I had this gun cocked back, locked back, ready to go. And I was ready to drop it. Well, it came walking on down towards me a little bit, and it kind of turned to its right, which would be my left, and I thought it was going to go broadside in the roadbed right in front of me, but it stopped. And I was on the left side of this little tree right here, and I knew that if it kept going this way, the way it was coming, that I was going to have to move my gun. And it was getting close at this point, maybe 25 yards away. And I was sitting here looking at it in my scope, and then it decided instead of coming across this way, it was going to keep coming the way it was. It turned and went back. I said, oh crap. So the deer, there was big trees it was walking in behind, in between me and the deer. But there was gaps that I could shoot through. So as soon as I had my gun up, and this tree was in my way, I had to bring my gun down like this and back up. The only way I could get a shot on it, because if I moved my whole body, the deer would see. And there's a certain way you have to move when a deer's in front of you, or it's going to see you move. So, well, this deer, maybe not. That's a different part of the story. I'm not gotten there yet. But anyway, most deer would see you move. So, as soon as that deer put its head behind one of them big trees, I went like this, and then its head popped out, and I stopped. Then it walked in behind another big tree, and I went like this. And then its head popped out behind the tree, and I was already up. But I wasn't moving. I wasn't aimed at it. So the next tree it went behind, I moved, and I got back on it. At this point, it's like 10 yards, 12 yards away. And I'm shaking. My whole body's shaking. My gun's shaking. My body's shaking. Like this. Because, I mean, you got a buck 10, 12 yards away from you. And I started looking at it. It couldn't see me. One of its eyes was missing. You know, a deer has shiny eyeballs. And you can see their eyeballs really good from 10, 12 yards away. I mean, really good. And this deer's eyeballs, I couldn't see its eyeballs. On its right side of its head, its left side of its head was away from me, so I couldn't see the left side of its head. But its right eye was missing. I already told you the wind was going this way. The deer was over here, coming that way. I swear, this deer walks 5 yards away from me, right here beside me. Wind blowing right directly toward this deer. It stops, stomps the ground, sticks its head up in there like this, sniffing, and then it turned around and just trotted off down through the woods. It didn't blow, it didn't make no noise. The deer never saw me. I mean, I was 5 yards away with blaze orange on, had my gun. I didn't look anything natural at all. He would have definitely, if he had good eyesight, he would have saw me. I'm about 99% sure what that deer's eyes were missing. At least one, if not both of its eyeballs were missing. Somebody maybe shot it in the face, or it got jabbed by another deer horn. I don't know what happened. But during that whole process, that deer 5 yards away, I already had my gun cocked. I decided to let my hammer down, and it makes a little clicking noise. When I let that hammer down and it clicked, that deer heard it, and he went like this. But I didn't make no other sounds. It wasn't even breathing. When the deer ran off, I was like, because I wasn't even breathing, because I was like, the deer's going to hear me breathe. Like, that's how close the deer was. But this deer had to be blind, because any other deer I've had get that close, they saw me. And I was standing upright, right in front of that deer 5 yards away. It was kind of scary how close I was. And this buck didn't even see me. And the other thing about this buck, its rack was not proportionate. And one of its brow tines was about this long. But the other brow tine was really short. So one side of its head looked kind of normal. And the other side had some funky horns growing off of it. So I didn't really want to shoot it. I already had meat and stuff. I probably will want some more meat, but I'm not done with what meat I have right now. So, but that's what happened. That's what happened this morning when I went on my hunt this morning, and I just wanted to share it. I ain't gonna tell you all my secrets, but there's a reason why that deer wasn't so spooked by my scent, even though I was 5 yards away from it, looking at it dead in the face, and it smelled me. There's a reason it didn't smell my human scent so much as it did the cover scent that I had on. There's a reason that deer didn't get scared and run off faster. I could have blasted that deer any second. I could have shot it 5 times in the whole process of that encounter. I decided to let it walk because I was after something bigger. I want a big buck. I want a 12, 14 pointer. This is one of the biggest ones I've ever shot, and I want something that's much bigger than that, or I'm not happy. I'm not trying to kill little deer. And if I'm hungry, I'll kill one, but I'm not after that. But it takes a lot when you've hunted for 5 to 10 days this season and not seen anything. It's been windy, not good conditions, and then a buck walks out on you, and you got a 30-30 in its face. It's really hard not to squeeze the trigger on it. But if anybody has deer hunted very much, that you know that when you squeeze that trigger, that's when the work begins, the real work. Especially if you don't take it somewhere and have it processed, if you do it yourself like I do. So that's what happened today. And hopefully next weekend I can lay one down that's a monster. And I'll get back with y'all.